Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. Patch 6.13 is right around the corner and it'll be hitting the live service in just a couple of days. So as usual, it's time to take a look at what exactly is coming to this patch and go over the biggest changes and the new champions that'll be really strong or even really weak. All in all, just giving you all the information that you need to know to go right into this patch ready to go. So if you end up enjoying this video, finding it useful or whatever, then make sure to hit that like button to show your support. But let's get right into the first topic. Here I want to start things off by not talking about a champion, but a change to how the game overall plays out, aka the experience change. So Riot is doing some tweaking and adding a couple of new things as well that I think are very interesting. So first, starting off with the more simple things, champions are now worth less experience at levels 1 to 9 and especially at levels 1 to 3. This is probably to help the snowball effect that's currently happening, where if someone dies maybe early in the laning phase or in a level 1 fight, the game doesn't feel like it's already almost over. You still have a chance to come back and the person that got that lead isn't gonna be insanely and miles ahead. On top of this, now if you were behind, maybe because you DC'd or you just had an exceptionally bad laning phase or whatever the case may be, the experience gained when you are this behind in levels just simply works better. You'll get more experience when killing minions and it'll just overall work out in a better way. But here are two that I'm pretty sure are not in the game that I also think are very interesting. The first of which being, champions now when they die, for 10 seconds around their corpse will be getting experience when enemy champions die. So if you ended up being the sacrificial lamb to engage a huge team fight where your team, because of your sacrifice, just ended up acing every single person and it happened very close to your corpse, or at least relatively close, you'll still be getting experience for that. On top of this, whenever you're killing wards, this will also now grant you experience, 30 for regular wards, while 15 for blue trinkets. This is a cool one because now placing wards is even more strategic because you don't want to just simply spam them and put them in easy to kill places and just offer free experience over and over and over. So that was the first big change that I felt like was necessary to talk about, but let's go into change number 2, which is going to be about a champion. So due to the recent Trinity Force changes, Aurelia happened to become a very strong champion, one that people were banning quite often and one that you just simply didn't want to face. Apparently Riot did agree with this and they ended up nerfing her in a very interesting way. The cooldown on her ultimate has been increased, especially at rank 1, a whopping 40 seconds. But as to what this means, well, it's quite obvious. Her laning phase has been hit quite hard. She almost got the Talon treatment, where now if she were to get a lead in the laning phase by using her ultimate to kill her foe, they will not come back to lane and then die to her once again because her ultimate is already back. This gives much more room to play against Aurelia and not make her feel like she's just impossible to kill if you ever lose lane. But even having said that, I mean 40 seconds at rank 1 is definitely a lot. So the question is it too much? Well, I guess we'll see how it plays out, but I still feel like Aurelia will be picked and she'll still be a decently popular champion. But moving into the next change, we have Kindred once again. Now, Kindred did get nerfed in the previous patch to the point where, honestly, I felt like this champion was in a pretty decent spot. I mean, yeah, you can still argue that Kindred still felt a little bit strong, but not overpowered anymore, and I thought, you know what, maybe Riot will ease up on this champion. But that is apparently not the case, as we still have more Kindred nerfs happening this patch, and there are also some decent ones as well. So what's happening? Well, first of all, the basic stuff out of the way. Base armor has been lowered to 20 from 27, which is a lot considering that is level 1 base armor. And this helps a lot when it comes to tanking the jungle monsters if you ever have to. The armor growth has been increased very slightly, however. But the biggest thing is the fact that the W ability no longer heals. Instead, now, Wolf's auto attacks versus monsters will slow their attack speed and movement speed by 50% for 2 seconds. Now, at first I was somewhat confused as to why they did this change, so I looked into it, and apparently the reason is as follows. The success of Kindred's jungle clear was just dependent on how well can you kite. So if you're a very experienced Kindred player, you are very ahead when you finish your jungle camps. I mean, you're probably not going to be taking a lot of damage, and it's really not overall a fair feeling. So all in all, I just put experienced Kindred players way above the rest of junglers when it comes to the clear speed and how effectively they can do it and how healthy they can come out of the jungle. And this is what Riot decided to do to try and make this a little bit of a more sort of fair thing to do. So now kiting is across the board easier. It doesn't really separate the skilled players from the non-skilled players as much. And in turn, since kiting is easier, the base armor can be reduced to what is in line with AD carry type champions, because at the end of the day, even though Kindred is a jungle type champion, their playstyle and overall feel is still very much of an AD carry, which explains the base armor being lowered from a melee type champion of 27 to 20 of a ranged champion. Now the next two changes I'll be talking about are potentially the biggest of this patch, and I have to say I'm not very happy with them as well because they're two champions that are just not really fun champions to have in a current meta. Or at least for me they're not fun, but enough of my rambling, let's get right into the changes. This one is going to be to Lulu. Now there's several buffs, the first of which being the movement speed and the base mana is being increased. However, on the flip side, her Q ability Glitter Lance has been changed where now the slow duration is 2 seconds at every single rank rather than increasing up to 2 seconds at rank 5, but enemies other than the first target will only take 70% of the damage. So very similar to maybe like an Ezreal ultimate or a ZQ. But here's the part that's pretty big. Her W ability now, which is known to be quite a good utility spell that you put on champions to maybe give them extra move speed or on enemy champions to slow them, well now if you were to put it on an allied champion, it'll grant him a decent amount of attack speed. Now this one will not be scaling with ability power, so it is a flat 15 to 35%, but it lasts 4 seconds at rank 5, which definitely sounds like it's a lot, so I think this is gonna make Lulu a very solid pick whether you're playing her in the mid lane or in the support role. Maybe we'll even start seeing Lulu and Karma compositions where you just protect the ADC and watch your AD carry kill everything in sight. Maybe the meta will finally shift all the way over to the ADCs again. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but this is definitely a pretty big buff and I think it'll have a lot of impact. But the second change that I feel like is going to be huge is the Tahm Kench buffs. Now this is a champion a lot of people find really obnoxious to face, but if you have him on your team, then you're probably pretty happy. Now there's a lot of changes to go over, so let's get started. The first of which being the passive he used to have on his ultimate is now changed to his actual passive ability, and it's a little bit different. The idea is still the same. I mean, he still gets bonus damage on his auto attacks and his spells based on a percentage of his maximum HP, but the percentage is lower, but it's for total HP, not just bonus HP. You get this effect from level 1, and you also can stack this 3 times. So you can see at the top there it says at level 16 you'll get a 1.5% increase of your maximum HP on your auto attacks and your abilities, stacking 3 times, that's 4.5. But on top of this, Tahm Kench's Q ability also got increased in damage by just a bit, nothing absolutely insane, but then he has some pretty big E ability changes. So first off, the cooldown on this ability is now 6 seconds at all ranks, which is almost half of what it currently is on the live servers. But now it'll only convert 70 to 90% of all the damage you take into the gray HP that you always see on this champion and the one that you see currently in the game, rather than 100% of all damage taken. The duration of the shield is now only 3 seconds, not 6. The shield duration will no longer fall off, and you now heal more from that gray HP thing that you always get. But that's actually not it, because there's also buffs to his ultimate, where now it'll no longer obviously have the passive, which is actually changed to his actual passive. The range on his ultimate has been increased, but the channel duration has been decreased, so you can't just sit there for 20 million years waiting for someone to jump in. But it's slightly faster in terms of how fast he goes into the ground and how much time the enemy sees your mark on the ground before you reappear. All in all, this is some serious changes to Tahm Kench. Overall, in my opinion, a buff, and I feel like this is definitely going to be sparking a lot of interest in this champion once again, and a lot of people are going to be starting to pick him up. So like I said at the beginning, I mean, he's not a fun champion to face. He really isn't, so this is going to make him a lot more popular. You're going to be seeing him in a lot more games, whether he's on your team or the enemy team, and it's just something you should be very ready for. But let's move on to the next champion and the next change. This one is going to be towards Swain, and obviously it's going to be nerfs. Now he's not receiving the biggest nerfs in the entire world, as you can clearly see by the amount of information written on the right, which is a little surprising considering he is considered to be one of the strongest champions in the current meta and the current patch. But regardless, he will be getting an increase of 10 seconds to his ultimate, which is actually a decent hit, but I really expected a little bit more. But I'm sure Riot did enough playtesting to understand that maybe this is enough, so I kind of trust their judgment on this, but I mean, I won't be too surprised if we start seeing a little bit more nerfs in the next patch. Because this guy is seriously wreaking havoc in solo queue, and he's just not a champion you want to face. But let's move over to the supports and show them some love, because they're definitely receiving it. The first of which being some changes to Thresh. The first change to his W is now he'll be getting 2 souls from epic monsters instead of 1. But the next buff to his W is a pretty good one, because the strength of your shield on your W will no longer be scaling off of 50% of your ability power. Instead, now it'll be scaling off of the amount of souls you have collected. Now unless I'm mistaken, Thresh support doesn't build much AP, if any at all, so this is definitely a very welcome change. But there have also been some changes happening to the support items. Now, I will not be going over every single change because there are quite a few and some of them are quite minor, so I highly recommend checking out for yourself if you want to. I'll have a link down below. but I'll be going over the bigger ones. So there was a change that happened to Ardent Sensor where now the gold cost has been increased by 200, but you now get a new effect where you get an increase of 15% on your heal and shields applied. You get 20 more AP, but you lose 50% mana regen. So it really does feel like a more aggressive type item now, which is a really cool thing. Mikhail's and Forbidden Idol also got this increase in heal and shield effect as well. But Talisman of Ascension also got a little bit of loving where its new effect now builds up to 20% movement speed over 2 seconds whenever you're near a turret, a destroyed turret, or a void gate. Its cost also got increased by 200, the recipe has been slightly changed. It gives 45 armor, the HP regeneration has been increased by 50%, but it's also lost 25% mana regen. Overall, Riot is definitely showing some love to the support role, and I'm really glad that they are because, I mean, it really is an underappreciated type role, so giving them some more love makes it a much more enticing role to play and a much more fun one. I really like the changes to Thresh's W as well, so overall, some very solid changes. But the final change we'll be talking about is going to be to Swain's brother, as I like to call him in this current meta, Vladimir. This guy also is very strong at the moment, and a lot of people hate facing him because if he ever gets ahead, it feels impossible to stop him. So here's what's happening. The passive changes are going to be essentially trying to make it so he can't just build pure tankiness and still be doing a lot of damage. Now, he'll be forced to build a little bit more AP from his items to get a better return on investment. Following this, the base damage on his Q is being decreased, but the AP ratio is being increased. So Vladimir is getting the Echo treatment, where you just cannot build pure tanky stats and still be doing an insane amount of damage, yet impossible to kill. You have to be investing more into damage if you want to deal damage. And I honestly like these kind of changes because this is how it should be from the start, so I definitely like this one a lot. But either way guys, there you have it, the biggest changes coming into patch 6.13. All 8 of them in my opinion have been mentioned to you. Hopefully you got enough information to go into this patch ready to go. And if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to share this with your friends, let everyone else know what to expect in this next coming patch. It is a pretty big one. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to hit that like button to show your support. Subscribe if you haven't, check out my other videos as well, you guys know the drill, and I'll see you next time. Peace.